Hi there, welcome to this week's video Weekend Warrior. I'm Mike Watchmaker, National Handicapper for Daily Racing Form. The three stakes races I'm going to talk about on a loaded Saturday of stakes action are the Indiana Derby at Indiana Grand, the Arlington Handicap at Arlington Park, and the Diana Stakes at Saratoga. Let's begin with the race that's going to be the last of the Warrior races run on Saturday. It's the Indiana Derby. Going to be running in the evening at Indiana Grand. And look, Mr. Money is going to be a strong favorite in this race. He deserves to be a strong favorite in this race. He was most impressive winning his last two starts, the Pat Day Mile and the Matt Winn Stakes. He was so impressive, in fact, that I actually think at this particular point in time, he's one of the best three-year-old males in the country. But that doesn't mean he can't be beaten in this spot. I think he can be for two reasons. Number one, both of those impressive stakes wins came on the main track at Churchill Downs. And that was also the surface on which he recorded his maiden win. And those are the only three victories in Mr. Money's career. So to my way of thinking, at a short price, he's got to demonstrate that he can be as effective on a surface other than Churchill Downs' main track. Also, Mr. Money drew post 11 of 11 in this Indiana Derby, and I'm a little bit concerned about that post. I wouldn't be as concerned if I thought he was the loose leader in this race or if he was a deep closer who could just, fall out of the gate and get over. He's not that kind of horse. Going two turns, I think he's got to be pace involved. And the problem is that there are perhaps as many as four horses to his inside who could really park him wide on the first turn. I mean, Great Magician, Always Mining, Eskinfort, and Long Range Toddy all have position early speed, and they could make Mr. Money's life miserable around the first turn. So for those reasons, I decided to look elsewhere, and I'm going with Math Wizard in here. Now, Math Wizard is a horse who's also much improved. He's really improved after being claimed early this year for his current connections, to the point where he was a very good, narrowly beaten second last time in the Ohio Derby. That was a strong effort on Math Wizard's part, for mainly because he was only beaten a half length by Owendale, and Owendale went into the Ohio Derby off what I thought was an excellent third in the Preakness Stakes, because Owendale rallied wide on a Pimlico main track on Preakness Day that was very, very much in favor of inside runners. So Math Wizard lost narrowly to a very good colt in Owendale last time out. Now, I know Math Wizard was well set up pace-wise in the Ohio Derby. The pace was hot in the early stages, and his late kick was suited to that. But he's going to get a very nice pace set up in this spot, too. So it's Math Wizard for me in the Indiana Derby. Let's move on to Arlington Park for the Arlington Handicap, one of four stakes races on Arlington's Saturday card. And Bandua is the horse that I want in this spot. I mean, Bandua was just simply totally overmatched last time out. He was up against Bricks and Mortar in the Grade 1 Manhattan. He didn't run badly. He wound up finishing sixth in that race after setting and then contesting the early pace. But this is just a much, much easier spot. But the other reason why I like Bandua in here is he's taking a little bit of a cutback in distance to 1 mile and 3/16. And I think that really suits him, because the last time Bandua was able to go this short a distance on turf was in the Fairgrounds Handicap early this year. And in that race, he was a very good second and clear second behind the talented Synchrony. And if Bandua runs back to that performance, it's going to be too much for the rest of these horses in the Arlington Handicap. So it's Bandua for me, race 7, Arlington Handicap. Let's close it out with the Diana Stakes. Now, originally I wasn't going to use the Diana. I was in desperate need of a third race for Weekend Warrior this week, and I wasn't going to use the Diana because, let's face it, this looks like a Chad Brown intramural scrimmage. There are 6 horses entered. Chad Brown trains 4 of them. 3 of them are owned by Peter Brandt. And I was going to actually use the Glasgow Stakes, one of the undercard races at Delaware Park, because Completed Pass, who was a Weekend Warrior pick in last week's Park Stash, and who mysteriously lacked all his early speed in the Park Stash, is wheeling back on short rest and is in a spot where he should be able to go right to the lead and go wire to wire. But, I like to use races that have wide appeal, and so I'm back to the Diana. And I really think the race comes down to one of the three big Chad Brown horses, they being Sister Charlie, Rushing Fall, and Homerique. Sister Charlie was last year's champion turf female. She's making her first start since the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. And even though Chad Brown is one of the best, if not the best, layoff trainer in the business, I'm just going to go on the stance that Sister Charlie might need a race. Rushing Fall is only lost once in a 9-race career, and she comes into this off of winning the Just a Game. That was the best performance of her career. She's 2 for 2 at this 1.8 distance, but, and maybe I'm reaching here, in both of those 1.8 scores, she beat company that was much weaker than the company she's facing in this spot. I think that maybe Rushing Fall's best game might be in slightly shorter races. I'm not convinced of that, but I'm trying to build up a case for the horse I think is going to be the bigger price of these three horses, and that's Homerique. And Homerique really doesn't need, she's my pick. I mean, she doesn't really need to have a case built up for her because last year in France, she was a top-class filly, and she's won both of her starts in the U.S. so far this year, with, albeit with good trips, but still with a very strong finishing kick. Certainly the 1.8 is no problem for her, and she's got a recency edge on Sister Charlie. So it's Homerique for me in the Diana, the feature of the first Saturday of the Saratoga meet. That's a look at this week's Video Weekend Warrior. Good luck.